website, which is QuinnIrishRadio.com. JC Sullivan is in the studio taking photographs and videos. So Vincent, you're going to be on YouTube before you know it. In a day or so. And whenever JC gets to it, then I'm going to give Colin here a chance to fire up the Facebook Live. Have you got her?
Got it.
Got it. All right. Vincent, you're on. Good morning and welcome.
Thanks very much, Gerry. It's great to be here, and hello to Cleveland.
This is your first visit here, is it?
Very first, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I'd just like to pay a special thanks to Mary Burns from the East Side. She's working down there in Boston College, and she reached out to the Heritage Centre back in January. And to give her her full title, she's Mary Bridget Burns Gerry. You might know the Gerrys.
I do indeed.
And her great-grandmother was Bridget English from Dua in Achill.
Oh, that's right.
So she
I know John Gerry loves to go to visit Achill. And he looks like he was born and raised there.
As they all do.
Big bushy beard. Big guy. Looks a bit like Tom Moran here.
All right.
Or Tom Moran, as we say here. We say here. You head up an organisation called the Achill Heritage Centre. Tell us about it.
That's correct. Yeah. Well, I set it up in 2016, only 2 years ago, and as soon as the doors opened, it has just seen surge in popularity. And I just wanted to preserve and promote the Achill heritage. I just was looking around, and I thought the stone buildings and historic buildings and cottages were just falling into ruins, as well as the tangible heritage, the furniture that was in people's sheds and in people's old houses, and it was going.
So the time period that you are concerned with is what?
1830 to 1880, 1890.
1880. And a lot of the people that were coming here to Ireland.
Absolutely, yeah. Following the famine, there was a huge exodus off the island, and this is where they headed.
Achill was particularly hard hit by the famine, weren't they?
Sure, yeah, as was the whole west coast of Ireland, the poorest parts of the area.
Mayo especially, would you say, Vincent?
I think, yeah, Mayo's reportedly for being hardest hit. Achill being so isolated, again, it was even more harder hit than the county.
So what you are concerned with here is the entire island of Achill.
Of course.
And how it was affected by those particular years of the famine, 1830 to 1870.
Sure. And we're talking about the parish of Achill, which takes in the Curran Peninsula. And it's all one parish, the island and the peninsula.
What were your findings? Did you come up with anything different than we read in the history books? Anything different that you found or that people didn't know about?
Well, the one thing about heritage is it comes from our grandparents, what they were told, and you won't find that in history books. That's so true. Yeah, there is quite a lot of folklore out there that the local people know, and it's local knowledge. And there's significant incidents of evictions and drownings in 1847 in Achill, which I will be talking about in the Irish Centre on Wednesday night, and on the west side and on the east side on Thursday night.
You have an opportunity to speak with a lot of the descendants of those people, some of them that died and some that lived through this terrible age. Well, what's it like talking to them? Have they? They're really interested in preserving this, aren't they?
But absolutely. Everyone's heritage defines of who you are. The further you are away from your original homeland or your grandparents' home, you've even a stronger sense of heritage.
People like John Gerry, for instance.
Sure, absolutely, and many like him. My father was Patrick English from Dua. His father and his grandfather was O'Malley in English. We have McNulty's, Carfkeys, Gallaghers in the family. So, just talking to cousins that are over here.
And you have still a lot of those people still reside in Achill, and of course a lot of them are here too.
Of course, yeah. I say maybe more of them are here now at this stage. That's why we call it Little Achill.
So when you speak at the East Side Club and the West Side Club, I think you're at the West Side Club on Wednesday, is it?
Wednesday, yeah.
Around what time?
Well, it's about 7:30. I put it up at 7:30, but come early and we can have a chat.
That's
Wednesday.
And that's at the West Side Club.
The West Side.
And then Thursday you're at the East Side Club.
At 7:30.
At 7:30.
But again, yeah, come early and we can have a chat beforehand. And
no, I don't know if you knew this or not, and I'm sure they both told you. I think Mitch Ginley, I think, heads up the West Side Club. I'm not sure. It may have changed now. Right. And the East Side Club, of course, I think Pat Dowd is the head of the library there.
That's right,
And,
yeah.
Mary Jo, of course, the Gerrys are working with it. But they have a lot of great history books.
They have.
And I think even you might, if you have a little time, Vincent, spend a little time in both of those libraries. I think you'll find a lot of interesting information. Maybe things you didn't even know about here in Cleveland.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I intend doing.
So you're going to be talking about how long is your talk?
It's about an hour long, but I do question and answers after, so that covers maybe half an hour. You know,
Yeah.
but I've never done it outside of Achill before, like on this scale. So I'm assuming the questions and answers will be quite extendable. So
Yeah,
it took
you
an hour.
raise an interesting subject there. Is there a lot of interest in this in Achill itself?
Huge interest, yeah.
The people there.
Absolutely, I'm constantly being asked to give the talk. You know, and people might be away at the time when I give it. You know, I'll give them the opportunity to come again and I'll put it on. We've done it recently at the Talking Walls Festival in Achill.
Now, would you have people coming from Dublin? Because I know a lot of Achill people that live in Dublin now.
Sure, they
And they'll come down for
they're Dublin, Galway. Yeah, they're spread out, and it will come down to it, of course. Yeah. So
I keep telling those that I have some friends that are pure dubs, you know, they think they are. They're not. I tell them, you wouldn't have a football team in Dublin if it weren't for the migrants from Mayo that we have all gone to
That's
Dublin.
for sure, yeah.
Do you remember Bernard Brogan that used to play center field?
Oh yeah.
Well, Bernard Brogan's father was taught in school by my father.
All right.
He was a student, Bernard Brogan's father. And I used to tell the Dublin players that all the time. Say, look, if it wasn't for Mayo, you guys wouldn't have a team. And of course, it's this great rivalry between the two, still to this day. But great organization, and with GA, that's another subject altogether. So has anybody made a documentary about this, or would this be something in the future, Vincent, for you?
Absolutely, could be. Yeah. As I said, a talk for an hour long. You know, you'd want to be able to extend that. So maybe take in 1830 to 1870.
Yeah. And of course, then if you did a documentary, you'd have to have videos and do a lot. It'd be a big production, wouldn't it?
It will,
Put
yeah.
one together, but I'd say you'll be able to do it. Now, do you have a physical location, like an office or a library yet?
We've a heritage centre in Bunnacurry,
Mm-hmm.
and that was established to have a central base. But a lot of my work is outside the centre, with historical talks and tours of the island and the village of Slievemore, and telling people about
You
that.
probably have a lot of this in your head.
That's where it is. I should get it
better-
down on paper.
You better not die on it.
So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Write all this down.
Mhm.
We're going to come back and talk more about this, but I'm going to go back to the computer here because most people have heard of it. Even people that have never been to Achill have heard about the deserted village. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as you say, it is probably the #1 tourist spot in Achill, but I'd be personally connected to it, and the term deserted village I don't particularly like. You know, it's known locally as Slievemore, and every single house in Slievemore is still privately owned by the family of the people that lived there pre-famine times. So to walk through it it's an emotional experience. You know, to walk from house to house, and you can tell this history of the village and as it became a deserted over from 1850 onwards.
So it became a deserted village as a result of the famine.
That's right, yeah.
What would be some of the names of the people from that village?
Well,
Would
there'd
you
be-
be familiar with it?
Yeah, there'd be all associated names with Watt and Pollock now. So you'd have Lavelles, O'Malley's, Englishes, McManamans. To name just a few, you could go through the whole village of Dwa and pretty much pick out every single one of them.
And you'd probably find them all in the West Park area of Cleveland.
I bet, yeah. Or the family members, yeah, they would have come over.
So how long did it take for this to occur from the beginning when the decline started until it was declared a deserted village?
Well, the people moved into Dwa and left the village, and they left it as a bowling village. So they used to return each summer to Bowley. They moved their cattle back to Slievemore and grazed their cattle, and the cattle would instantly approve from leaving boggy soil in Dwa back to the rich pasture of Slievemore. And the water was very nutritious, and there's a lot of nutrients in it that the cattle were losing. So when they used to come back to Slievemore, they thrive. And the people would wait with them then for the couple of months and plant potatoes. But then that carried right through into the 1940s when the bullying stopped and migration turned to immigration. So instead of people leaving Achill for the summer, they left for the full year. So that was 1940 onwards.
How many places or houses or farms would be part of the deserted village?
There's over 80 ruined houses there at present. But
In ruins?
yeah, but it's made up of 3 villages. There's Tuarivach and Fiha. And Fiha is still inhabited today.
Mm-hmm.
People are still living in the village of Fiha.
And the original houses?
Well, no, they've some of them are original, but most of them are not, and new houses are
Have
rebuilt.
any of them been rebuilt like the originals?
There's,
anybody
there's one
So-
over at the end of Fiha that's the original cottage.
cottage? Would that be a thatch cottage?
No, it's slate.
It's slate
Yeah.
now.
So
But in the old days, I imagine it was thatch.
it was, yeah,
Would it have been?
it would have been readily available, so they would have used thatch.
And probably most of the houses in the deserted village were at one time thatched, right?
Every single house, yeah. There's actually a photograph there from the folklore collection in Duchess. Actually, the website is duchess.ie, where it shows every single house thatched in 1938.
Could you describe for me a typical, and I have it in my own mind when I saw it where I grew up around the Knockmore area. I'm sure you know where that is. That's where I grew up. And I use Knockmore because most people in Mayo know where it is. You probably wouldn't know about Knockfree or Clohans or Garracloon. That's, you know,
My daughter lives in Clons.
in Clohans. Well, that's where I lived. That's where I lived. Tom Moran just said Clohans. What's her name?
Nicola Moran, she's
Nicola Moran?
she's involved with the McHale household, McHale families in Clons. It's like
Which
Gallagher's and
McHales
Achill.
would that be?
It's like Gallagher's and Achill, they're everywhere.
They are. The McHales were our next door neighbours.
There you go.
Sean and Bridget McHale.
So you go down to the lodge for a beer.
That's right, the lodge. Yes. Oh my goodness, here we could have a private conversation here, you and I. When I go back to the music, we'll talk about this some more. Could you describe though what one of those houses looked like for our listeners that have never seen one of these things? How would you describe it?
Well, they're built with locally sourced stone. So the stone, round stone that would have been rounded up over thousands and thousands of years by riverbeds or water or sea, and they'd be put together as a dry stone wall.
And how was the cracks filled? How did they fill the cracks and the spaces like we do it with cement block now? How did they do it in those days?
It would be sand.
Sand.
So they would have built an outer wall and an inner wall. So you'd basically create a cavity and they'd fill that with sand. And then the roof would go down over the walls, so to keep the water out of the centre of the wall and keep it dry.
Now, how big were those houses?
They were very small. They were they'd be 15 feet. You'd have feet over here, so by
15 feet wide
by 25 feet long.
and 25 feet long.
Mhm.
So
So-
15 by 25, that's 250, probably about, the whole house would be maybe 500,
Size of
600 square feet.
size of an average living room today
Yeah,
in a modern house.
it's a long cry from the 3,000 square feet they have now.
Absolutely, and you know that'd be fine if it was just a couple, but it was a couple. There'd be
Yeah, how many people would be living in there?
up to 10
10 people living in it.
on one side of it, and on the other side then would be used to house the animals. So you'd have
On the end of the house.
Mhm.
Now, inside that house, what would the furniture consist of?
Well, they would have had a dresser. We've known that.
A dresser, now again, the Americans wouldn't know what a dresser is. You might have to describe that.
Well, dresser is an open display cupboard unit that is used to display crockery and shelves, and there'd be under used
They did the
storage.
cups and the saucers and the
Exactly.
willow pattern.
Absolutely, and
Right.
baskets and pots, and on the other side then would be the foodstuffs. So that would be the only bit of furniture really.
Did you have any lofts in these
There'd be a
houses?
half loft, yeah, above the side where the cattle were, and the sheep. See, the animals at the time were very valuable.
Sure.
They had no money, and they had no money to pay rent. So a pig, or muikin as it's known locally, would be reared to pay the rent, and the rent was paid every 6 months.
Mhm.
And the muikin was used to pay that, as well as a goose. They'd have hens, they'd have eggs, and that was all used for bartering. So that was the form of payment. If they needed nothing, but if they did want something, they used what they had to swap it. and to exchange it.
Exchange it, the
So-
barter system.
So the only money they needed to pay was the rent back pre-famine and the
To
tithes
the landlord.
to the landlord, and the tithes was to the established church for the farm. They were
Now, let me get back to the furniture for a minute, because I remember this myself. There was a piece of furniture in those houses called the settle bed. Explain that.
well. It's the people got around the fire. They're positioned in order of importance, and in Achill, the most important person in the house was the Cailleach.
Who?
The Cailleach.
The Galia.
Cailleach, or the
The old
mother,
Cailleach.
the mother-in-law, as you might refer to her
mother-in-law,
over
aye.
here. And she got the best side of the fire, and that was in the settle bed. So we called that down in Achill the Cailleach. So it became the woman as well as the place.
Oh, the place for the queen of the house.
Absolutely. So she was put into a niche in the corner in the settle bed. The parents then would be on the other side of the fire, and the children then would be up in the half loft.
God rest Steve Malloy. You knew Steve, didn't you?
I did.
Steve, I'd be out someplace with him. I think it was at the Rose of Tralee one year, and there was this very glamorous lady. Oh, I mean, she was really dressed up. And Steve came in, nudged me, and he says, "Gerry, who's that Cailleach over there?"
I think we still use that today.
Tell me who the Cailleach is. Oh, it was funny. But you know, it was such an experience. I saw a lot of this myself growing up. Now, a lot of it is kind of fading from my memory as I get a little bit older. But I think what you're doing, you're kind of letting the younger generation getting exposed to this the way life was.
Sure.
And an awful lot of the young generation in Ireland, you and I talking today, we probably could be doing the same thing in Ireland, talking to the young people, because they've never heard of this.
No way, absolutely not. Their sole concern now is Wi-Fi, and where do you
Wi-Fi,
get it?
yeah. There's no Wi-Fi in those cottages.
Yeah, but I do regular tours over there with the school children, and within 10 minutes they're amazed, and they're just asking hundreds of questions. You know?
Now, the other thing was the fireplace, where they did the cooking in those cottages. And it's just hard to imagine today with our electric and gas stoves, what these women, and it was the women that did the cooking, how they did it and they put out fairly decent meals. I know there's very limited materials they had, potatoes, a pig or whatever they killed, and cabbage, but they were able to do it on that fireplace. Could you describe what the fireplace was like?
Yeah, well, they did various pots, and each pot had its function. You'd have a pot for making bread, a pot for boiling potatoes, a pot for just boiling water.
And then there was what we used to call the crane that swung over the fire.
Yeah. That
What was that? Can you describe that?
It's I suppose it'd be like an L-shaped piece of metal that you'd have a post in the ground, and it would just swivel out, and you could take the pot off the fire or swivel it back and
Pull it outside so that woman could pick up the pot of spuds. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so-
tell you, some of those women were strong women that pick up that big pot, and a lot of those pots were made out of cast iron, weren't they?
Absolutely, yeah, they were all cast. And you know, you mentioned there about cooking meat. They didn't cook meat. Meat was too valuable, so it would be just potatoes, bread, and
Cabbage,
milk.
maybe,
You know,
maybe
very little cabbage.
very little cabbage.
There was one known fact that they did actually cook goose, you know, on the eve of a wedding,
Mm-hmm.
where the groom was invited up to the bride's house, and there was a meal presented in front of him, and with a goose cooked meal. So we reckon that's the term.
That was
goose
the night
is cooked.
before the wedding,
That was the eve of the wedding, yeah.
the eve of the wedding, and I bet the mother-in-law didn't allow him to stay the night either.
We
There was
turned
none
out
of that
before
going on.
midnight.
It's such an interesting time. I tell you, I want to go to this. I want to hear you. I probably go. I won't be able to get to the west side one, but I definitely will go to the east side because it's going to be a lot more detail than what
Sure.
we're talking about
Uh-huh.
here. So I encourage people to mark it down in the calendar. Again, it's the East Side Club is first, is it?
No, the West Side
Club is first.
On Wednesday evening.
On Wednesday evening
Yeah.
at 7:30.
Yeah.
It'll probably be downstairs in the library or in the Phil Walsh Cabaret Room.
Right, I
At
think
the
this
East
is.
Side Club. Do you know if there's what the charge is or if there is any charge?
Well, I don't know what the cover charge. I don't charge for these talks, but I won't refuse any donation towards the Achill
Okay.
Heritage Centre ever.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's Wednesday night, and then Thursday we're in the East Side at 7:30.
at 7:30 at the East Side and 7:30 is doing in Achill, and it just isn't the one part of Achill. It comprises the entire history of the island. There's a lot of history in Achill, isn't there?
Sure, yeah, and you know, we've megalithic tombs on the side of Slieve down there that predate the pyramids of ancient Egypt. You know, so you're talking, you're going way, way, way back. There's been a lot of digs. The Achill Field School do regular digs down there on Slieve Moran and Kim, and unearthing pre-family villages and field systems. Yeah.
All those things that you're doing, and I know Terence Dever and Kenny Gerry, they're all friends, you're all friends, and you all work together to make Achill progress.
Absolutely.
Now, I would say that through the years gone by, when I was a young fellow growing up in Ireland, the tourist board did not do a lot for the West Coast, with the exception of Galway and Killarney. Really, that was about it. But I'm happy to say that things have changed a bit there. There's a lot more tourism going into Achill, and I think, Vincent, it has a lot to do with people like yourself and Terence and the groups that come out here for the Mayo Ball every year, improving the image and making people more aware of it. Because I think if people are made more aware of that wonderful little corner of Ireland, it could become a huge mecca for tourism.
Sure, yeah, and with, as you mentioned, Terence and Kenny, but higher than that, then again, Mayo.ie do huge
Yes,
for
that's
tourism
right.
in Mayo and Achill. And Achill Island is the selling point for the Wild Atlantic Way across the globe. You know,
Exactly.
if you see a photograph of the Wild Atlantic Way, you can guarantee there's a picture of Kim or it's a picture
There's
of
a good many miles of the Atlantic Way in Achill, isn't there?
There is, yeah. The whole route is about 2,500 kilometres. Yeah, but
It's the entire Atlantic Way.
yeah, and
But the
in,
part in Achill is how much?
in Achill, it's about 60 to 70 kilometres.
Which is,
It is.
it's a nice bicycle ride.
Absolutely, yeah, it's good and a good walk. But that's taken in the Curran Peninsula also.
There's several people from the Cleveland area, have bought houses there, and their families came here and then went back. And I remember Kevin O'Donnell.
Uh-huh.
He had I think he's still there, his house. And of course Andy Dever, he's still got a house there. And the Gallaghers. And Tom.
And Andy Dever's my neighbour.
Andy is your neighbour?
Yeah.
Oh, you live in a rich neighbourhood. Andy is the best. They all have houses there. And what you're doing, of course, will be bringing more people to the island.
Sure. As well as promoting the heritage of the island, we also promote historical dates. Only there last year marked the 130th anniversary of the Michael Davitt Bridge, the opening of the bridge, the iconic bridge onto the island.
Mm-hmm.
And we marked that by a festival.
Wait a minute, why is it called the Michael Davitt Bridge?
Michael Davitt, he was the famous land
I
league
know,
activist.
from Strayed.
Yeah, and he was a great friend of Achill.
Was
And
he?
a huge friend of Achill. And
Yeah.
he raised a lot of money and brought it down to the island. And they named the bridge after him. And he officially opened it on the 31st of August 1887.
Okay.
So last year in 2017 we marked the 130th anniversary, and we were lucky enough to get Michael Davitt's grandson, Father Tom Davitt, down to bless the bridge.
Nice.
JC is looking at me there. You'll be able to find that on my website, achillheritagecentre.com. And if you go into there, and there's a blog in there that you'll find all the interesting pieces on Achill and the history of Achill.
And centre is spelled the Irish way.
The Achill way, yeah.
C-E-N-T-R-E?
That's the one, yeah. Uh-huh.
You know something that's not talked about much in Achill or outside Achill is the time the English tried to turn Achill Protestant. It's not talked about much.
No,
But they didn't succeed. They had, I suppose, mild success. Wasn't it a bishop? Wasn't it a Protestant bishop was given money to farmers if they would become Protestant?
Sure, yeah, if I go into too much detail, I'll have nothing to talk about it.
No, okay. Well, you want to talk about that, will you?
That would be part of it, yeah. He did, I like the word tried. He did try. And
What was the name of that bishop? I know he
Reverend Edward Nangle.
That's right, and he
Wasn't
bucked
Sullivan,
heads
I
with
know.
Archbishop McHale, didn't
That's
he?
right, the
That's right.
Lochorns. Uh-huh.
All right. Well, you're going to talk a lot about that.
That's
All right.
Wednesday.
That's a very interesting part of history.
Mhm.
So it's going to be next Wednesday and next Thursday. Wednesday at the Westside Irish American Club, 7:30 in the evening. It'll probably be in the Abbey Room. I'm not sure yet. We're depending on where Mitch Kennedy decides to put you. But it'll be right adjacent to the library where people can. You know, next thing for you is to write a book.
Yes,
Vincent,
maybe,
I just gave you another assignment.
absolutely.
When
I
you
don't
come
have enough
next
to
year,
do.
will you have the book out?
I'll come for the launch next year.
Bring us copies.
Sure.
That's right. And then the East Side Club on Thursday night, it'll be, I think, in the Phil Walsh Cabaret Room, which is just a couple of doors down from the library. But both of the clubs here have really good libraries. I think you're going to be impressed when you
Great.
see them.
Look forward to it.
They're not really big, but they have a lot of good quality books. It is 11:28 here on the Irish Show on WHK, AM 1420. The Galway girl, Connie knew this was
That's right. Very special. Happy birthday to Sam Keegan.
Steve Earle.
I know
Steve
Steve
Earle,
Earle.
yeah.
On which one though? What
Time
series?
series.
28? That one on 28?
No, it's right next to Willie's Roadhouse, Willie Nelson.
Oh, okay.
Right next to it.
I don't listen to country music. So I'm gonna pick
Steve Earle is
Good.
a bit of a rebel.
Yeah, Steve Earle spent some time in Galway.
Oh, did he?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote this.
Uh-huh.
Shannon that's playing there with
Okay,
him.
yeah.
Desi O'Halloran,
Okay.
all of those guys. I play music with all those guys.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So
Uh-huh.
we were on the first cut of this.
Okay.
In the pub in Galway, in the Pucon.
Right, right.
You know,
So wait a minute, you're telling me, are you a bus driver?
I'm a coach, driver, operator. Yeah.
Multitasking.
Does
Amongst a lot of
Okay,
different
wait a
things.
minute. So I came over with a group of students from St. Ignatius back in 2012.
Okay.
And we came from Belfast to Mayo.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I pick up wherever we take French in from the ferries.
Okay.
And we do a 7-day tour all around Ireland. So
Okay.
we went to Dublin, we do the Trinity College,
Yeah.
all the colleges.
But we didn't
all-
work with you.
No,
did
you didn't work
No,
with
no,
me.
no, no.
There are many independent
Okay,
couriers.
because I
What's
just
the name of
remember
your tour
Moran though. I
company?
remember your Moran.
Barrett Coaches.
But from
Barrett's
Apple,
of Mayo
who
it's
got-
called.
Alan Guilty helped me
Website?
last time.
Yeah, barretts.com,
Your own
www.barretts.
Loved
Do you
it.
have your
So do you
own
have your
No, I
own?
work with a group.
No, you work with a group.
group.
But I thought it was Moran that helped me.
There is a Moran's in Castlebar, they have
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
something.
yeah.
So somebody helped me.
Yeah, they
But,
have it there. They're like
yeah.
a nice. They
Yeah,
do a lot
they
of
were good.
schools, a
They
lot
did
of that
some
type
school
of work.
stuff, yeah. So because we just worked, we just needed a trip from Belfast. But
Yeah.
then the last time with the Holiday Inn kids, Alan Guilty helped me.
Alan is
And it was
great, yeah.
before he got
He got
his
the badge,
full
he got the-
thing. Yeah, he's got a full
yeah,
badge.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, he was great though
Did,
to us.
did you
The
see?
kids were so
Did
good.
you see their luggage in the hallway?
Yeah.
Yeah, they came right from the airport
Oh my
here.
god, you came right from the airport. Did you guys get an Uber or a cab or what did you
Uber,
do?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
we
okay.
arrived in
Uh-huh.
into Boston last Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
And we had Thanksgiving down in New
Did you?
England.
Yes. Did you?
The
People you know?
greenhorns
Yeah,
right
yeah.
off
Yeah,
the
you
boat.
would.
More relations.
Bridget, the one
Okay,
from
good.
my daughter.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
we
Yeah.
we went to New York then for a couple of
Right.
nights and
Yeah.
left New York last night at 10:30.
Right.
And got in here at 8
Yeah.
o'clock
Okay.
this morning.
No, nice. Nice.
Full on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you know that woman who lives in Dubois, whose husband is sick or she was sick? She's from the States.
Sharon Shannon and Steve, because she lives in Nashville. She's probably listening now and want to correct something that I say and be on the email in a minute. But they recorded an album a few years ago, and I'm going to try and do it before the end of the program. You know the song Immigrant Eyes that just about everybody sings
Love
these
it.
days? Well, the guy that wrote that is a fellow named Guy Clark. He just died last year. But he's on this, I have the original recording of that. And well, maybe I will put it on. Maybe I will put it on right now. And you're going to see such a difference in the way he wrote it. He didn't write it as an Irish song. He wrote it as just an American immigration song. So Guy Clark, here he is with the original version of an hour. I think it would be very beneficial for people to get some historical perspective on Achill. People that are not from Achill. The Achill people will, I'm pretty sure, are going to be very interested. But even if you're not from Achill, this is very interesting.
It sure is, yeah, and it could relate to any part of Ireland. You know, the story I give, because it covers famine in depth. You know, and I'd say it covers the West Coast would be no different to anywhere in that.
I'm sure while you're here, you'll get a chance to see the famine memorial that we have down on the river.
Absolutely.
It's not as elaborate as the one in New York. Did you see the one in New York?
We were
It's,
there yesterday, yeah.
Were you there the other day?
Yeah, and would you believe that Brian told the artist who brought that together, he travelled to Galway looking for inspiration. and
Is that right?
yeah, and travelled into Mayo and travelled to Achill. And when he saw the village of Slievemore, he said, well, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to build a cottage in the middle of Manhattan.
Yeah, he brought that cottage over from where
Athens, Mass in-
from where Adrian
That's right.
Flannery, the guy, my contemporary in New York, that does the radio program there, was his, the Irish and
Sure, yeah.
that,
So
that whole group.
it was
It's
inspired
very
from-
impressive.
Of course
It's in
it is,
Battery
it is.
Park. Anyone
Yeah.
wants to see it? Now ours is not quite that fancy, but nevertheless, we for our small little city, I think we've done very well, and it was well done thanks to the Irish Americans here in Cleveland who made it happen. So you're going to go there.
You don't have to, if you're from Achill, you don't have to go too far to find family, you know, and as part of the Heritage Centre we have a genealogy service that we can provide searches back through the mid-1800s for family members looking for them. They can get in touch either through Facebook on Achill Heritage Centre or the AchillHeritageCentre.com website.
Now, all the tourist parts in Achill are connected with the Wi-Fi.
Sure.
Aren't they? Because I know a few years ago when we were there, Colin, that's when that thing was initiated, where you could take your iPhone or whatever it is.
Right, it was the
smartphone.
iPads. No, it was
The iPad, yeah.
iPads.
You just
They
touch the
launched.
iPad and it take you right to where you
Right,
want to
right,
go.
sure, yeah, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So the Heritage is on that.
It is, yeah, and you know, the iPad's all good and well, but people like that interaction, you know, the human
Oh, yeah.
contact, and
Need to
you know,
talk to
you
the
can't
person.
beat it, yeah, and you know, so when you can answer questions as they arise.
Well, Vincent, we're going to see you at, I don't know if I'll make it to the west side because they're a bit far and the wife doesn't let me out at night anymore. So I may not be able to get to the west side club, but I definitely will be at the east side club on Thursday. And I know Mary Jo, Gerry and John and the whole gang will be there, and Pat Dowd and a lot of the Patrick Pierce Center group. They'll be there, and the same thing at the west side, the McNeely Library. Well represented. So come on out. Wednesday night at the West Side Club, Thursday night at the East Side Club, and hear Vincent English talk about his little part of Ireland that you've grown up there, didn't you?
Yeah, born and reared, and I couldn't trace the family back till the records began, 1847.
That's very good. Right, thanks Vincent. Thanks for coming in and visiting with us this morning.
Thank you.
Here's